Hello, friends. I'm Andrea Morris, and welcome to another edition of Spill the Wine, our podcast, which you know by now is about wine. Also, Lucas, my producer, is here, so he might yell a few questions from the background. But they're always great, and I appreciate your input, Lucas, and everything that you do, because you're awesome. Today, we are at a really cool winery that I think you guys have one of the biggest wine clubs in the area, don't you?
Probably.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we are at Creekside with someone who you may recognize her voice if you are a fan of the podcast. It's Yvonne Irvine, who we did a podcast episode with about your personal project, Maynard.
Yes.
And now we also have Rob Powers here, who is the head winemaker at Creekside.
Hi.
Although apparently head winemaker is a term that you want to talk about.
I'm never really comfortable being referred to as head winemaker when I work with somebody for 19 years, and I'm never quite sure who's leading and who's following anymore. But we can talk about that wine by wine.
Well, we'll just call you co-winemakers. How's that?
That'll do.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Creekside. I mean, I've come here quite often because you have a beautiful patio out back, which is where we're sitting today, listeners. So if you hear the sound of water, that is the creek behind us. What's the history of Creekside? How long has it been around?
About 30 years.
Wow.
All in all. It was started as just they bought a little local winery on this spot. It was called VP Cellars way back in the day. The late Wayne Philbrick and the late Ron Vidal had a little project. And then it was purchased by Creekside's founding couple, a woman named Laura McCain and her husband. Laura was a member of the McCain family, you know, the French fry McCains. But we weren't a McCain company. We were funded by her separate fortune, I guess. And that Creekside really got going in 2000 when they built the winery and the barrel cellar downstairs. So.
And then the restaurant came after that?
Yeah, about 2008, yeah.
Because it's such a nice destination. It's so peaceful out here, and your wines are fantastic.
Thanks. The whole thing about the project right from the start is we never wanted to be the kind of winery that, you know, people would show up and it's like, come worship at our altar of wine. You know, it's the opposite of it. Around here, we take our winemaking job very seriously. We really care about what we put in the bottle, but the rest of it is pretty much as it goes. We're pretty relaxed around here.
Now, are all the wines, all the grapes, are they all grown on this property?
No.
We have, on our property here, we have a lot of Sauvignon Blanc planted, some Pinot Gris, and some Riesling. And then we work with growers all across the peninsula that most of them we've worked with for decades at this point.
Yeah.
So we just have really good relationships with them and sourcing grapes from other really excellent spots in the region.
That's nice because it gives you that opportunity to just go like, yeah, this is the vineyard I want.
Yeah, I mean, Creekside is a great site for Sauvignon Blanc, but we used to have Cab Sauv and Syrah here. And
Yeah.
The Cab Sauv used to make mediocre rosé sometimes.
Sometimes.
So those would be your entry-level wines.
Yeah.
We ripped the Cabernet Sauvignon out and the Syrah out, which I think speaks to the industry as a whole, right? Like, Niagara has come so far in the last 10, 20 years, and part of that was just realizing where things should be planted and what works where. You know, a lot of people assume, oh, Niagara can't do red wines. Well, we can, absolutely. It just has to be planted in the right spot. And so some of that has been the evolution of Creekside too, right?
Yeah, Niagara is still figuring out what to grow, where, and how to grow it, which is still really exciting.
I started coming up here in the 90s, you know, and how few wineries there were then as opposed to now. But it is still, like in terms of the rest of the world, a very young business.
Yeah, if you go over to somebody's house and they pour something for you, and you're like, what winery? Where? And they're going that? And it's that good? You know, it's impossible to keep up even now, 30 years later. So.
Well, every time they print a new guidebook, I'm like, I didn't know that was a new winery. But there's always a new one popping up that you're like, what?
It's true, yeah.
The other cool thing too is like when we did the podcast with you, all of the, like with Collab and with Custom Crush, all of the small winemakers they're doing like small lots and just really cool and interesting projects that are also available in this area too, which is really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think the exciting thing of being a new wine region is that we aren't sort of tied to old traditions. You know, we can certainly use that for inspiration, but it doesn't have to be the final guiding point for us. There's a lot of room for innovation and experimentation and fun.
So I take it you guys have a lot of fun making wine together?
We do.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't sound so effervescent about it.
But, you know, it's not like every day is a walk in the park, right? It is
That's
winemaking.
definitely true.
It is winemaking. It has its challenges and it has its moments. I do, Yvonne and I worked together for 19 years. So that's kind of what I was alluding to with the thing about the head winemaker.
Yeah.
My job title is head winemaker, but on any given day, Yvonne might be the one that's taking the lead. See, I think some people attach, you know, when they talk about winemaking, they think it's some kind of magical talent or stuff like that. It's muscle memory and it's craft, and anybody can have a bad day. So the more people you have at the table that know what they're doing, the better wines you're going to make in the end, as opposed to the one-person ego trip ride, right?
You said the Sauvignon Blanc's grown on the estate, so I would imagine that that's one of your signature wines then?
Right from the start, so there was this couple, Laura McCain and her husband, and they brought over a winemaker from Australia, a young guy by the name of Marcus Ansems. And I think right from the start, you know, at the time in the market context, you had Cave Spring doing the whole Riesling cha-cha-cha, Vineland doing that too. And then over here, you got the Spec Boys going the other way with Baco Noir and things like that. And Enniskillen was making great Chardonnays and Pinots. So the entrepreneurial spirit that this company was founded on was that let's be the other guys, let's be the black sheep, let's do something different. So Sauvignon Blanc and Syrah were the two things that they went with. I don't think the Australian really knew what he was getting into, and that they're both the most cold tender varieties in Niagara, right? Like if we get a bad night in January, the Sauvignon Blanc and Syrah are the first crops to start to lose crop and money. So it's a risk reward business plan. Like if we can get our fields through the winter and make a pretty decent wine, then it's easy to grab a good market share as opposed to working with Riesling or something that's a little bit more reliable, but in greater quantities around here.
Now, this past winter was so cold that were you like freaking out about that?
By the skin of our asses, we're fine, you know, just barely. We have temperatures all over the property and a wind machine. And I lost a few nights watching the temperature go almost, oh, thank God, right? So, but that's every year, right?
Right.
Every year.
There's always something.
And then there's some years where like 2022, where it's just sort of like, oh. and that wasn't just us though, right? That was pretty much everybody around the peninsula. So.
Do you have a favorite wine to make?
Just one, huh?
Let's do a white and a red.
Okay. We're going to be tasting a Sauvignon Blanc Semillon blend. And that is one of my favorite whites to make.
Definitely your favorite.
Definitely, yeah. And then for red, probably the Syrah. We're going to taste the Syrah today. And there are two that put Creekside on the map. And we have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in shaping the winemaking on those. Because, you know, like nobody was really making serious Syrah here 27 years ago when those vines went in the ground. So, you know, other people are now for sure. But it was kind of it was the red wine that Ontario wasn't supposed to be able to make. So it was really cool to be on that ride. And it's far from a recipe wine, right? Every year is different. So we're still on that ride, and I find it fascinating.
Is it because Syrah is it technically a vinifero grape?
No, it's vinifero.
Is it vinifero?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what makes it so difficult to grow?
It's one of those grapes that it's not necessarily difficult to grow. It's hard to nail ripeness and to know. It's hard to it doesn't necessarily ripen evenly. So when you do a pick of Syrah, you're doing an average pick. Some of the stuff will be overripe, some of the stuff will be a little bit underripe, and you're trying to nail that. So that's really an experiential thing with the property.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you could even have
and that was a hopeless overgeneralization too, right? Like it's way more complicated than that.
More than other
90
varieties,
minutes, is that what we have?
it's sort of sensitive to the vineyard that it grows on, like, or particular about the vineyard that it grows on. Whereas there's some varieties that you can kind of plant anywhere. Syrah is a little bit more particular, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of nervy. Even on the one piece of land, it's a little bit nervous and reactive as opposed to solid and predictable. That sounds like Pinot Noir.
I was just going to say, it sounds like,
it's not as goofy as Pinot.
Not finicky.
Well, it's probably as finicky in the vineyard. The winemaking's more reliable. It's not delicate.
It's not heartbreaking.
Nervy.
It's a wild man. Like if you look at it in the vineyard, the vines look absolutely feral.
Yeah, the bunches are like footballs, and some years the fruit itself are like golf balls or ping pong balls. Depends on the clone, depends on the year. But the funny thing is that when it's ripening, the best signal that you have on when it's ripe is it starts to raise any. It just all of a sudden it starts to go sucking on itself.
Really?
And then it becomes a nervous game. It's like pick it now, no, pick it tomorrow. Pick it now, no, pick it tomorrow. Pick it now. Yeah,
and then you overthink it and go like,
yeah.
It's funny because if you're listening to this podcast for the first time and you're hearing these descriptions, you wouldn't probably think getting into being a winemaker would involve so many of these little things, right? Like just knowing the grapes so well and looking at the different varietals and having to know so much about agriculture as well as how to make those grapes into these beautiful bottles.
Yeah, I always refer to it as the ultimate winemaking, as the ultimate rabbit hole, right? The ultimate rabbit hole of knowledge and choices and options and all these directions you can go that will have sometimes profound, sometimes subtle effect on the finished product. And you're never, the corollary of that is you're never really sure if you got it right. Because you're always wondering, well, what about if I made that one little left turn at Albuquerque instead of right turn at Taos? Right?
But if you're not a Gemini, eventually you just
accept. Which I usually do after we put a cork in it. I mentally put a cork in it.
Sometimes, not all the time.
I mentally put a cork in it. There was the Pinot Gris last year. I still have, yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You guys must have a fun time working together.
We don't take much seriously around here.
We've got a good sort of yin and yang between each other, like slightly different personalities, but we seem to like fit together nicely.
There's a third character in the mix too, our cellar master Mike, who's been with us for 11 years. And he's somewhere in the middle. Like he has his own zany moments, but mostly he's just sort of like in between us. And he's 6'7", so he just sort of...
And you guys have so many different wines here.
Yeah, we blame marketers for that.
Because you've got like different tiers, right?
Oh yeah. Most of the choices, like the wines that are bottled on there, it's always an organic choice. I don't mean the wine is organic. I mean that there was a logical pathway and we arrived at the choice to bottle something. But sometimes you realize every now and then you stick your head out of the sand. You're like, wow, we got a lot of wine. But if you like them all, then like it really is. There is a thing in this industry that if you try to be all things to all people, you will be nothing to no one. But then there's corollaries to that too, like or things in opposition to it. Like we're not known for Riesling. We have some Riesling on the property here. You know, people ask me where to go for Riesling. I'm like, go to Case Ring, go to Vineland, go here, go pretty much anywhere but here. We love ours, but there's specialists that do such a good job. But then on the other hand, there's people driving down the QEW that get off at exit 55 in Jordan, and we're the first winery they stop at. And they say, we've heard great things about Niagara Riesling. Do you have one? And it would be kind of dumb if we said no. So we have one and it's single vineyard and we do our absolute best with it. And then there's another thing on the shelf that made sense but doesn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So what are we going to start our tasting off with today?
Bubbly.
And this is made from?
Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. I think it's about 50-50.
Yeah, I think this is 50-50.
So this is 2019.
The trad.
We call it the trad because it's made in the traditional method, same as champagne. This is from the Queenston Road vineyard in the St. David's Bench vineyard that we used to own. And this was on the lees for a really long time.
I want to say 5 years for this particular.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing about traditional winemaking, when I got into the industry back in the late 90s, pretty much the only people that were doing it were Hillebrand Trius Brut, right? But that was a serious wine back then and remains a serious wine. The barrier to most people trying to get into bubbly was equipment, right? Because you need to bottle under tirage and then you need disgorging equipment. And a service that was available to everybody opened up in about, 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And suddenly everybody had a chance to make bubbly. And so we tried our hand at it. And there's a real knack to it. You got to be really careful with certain things that you don't really worry about with table wine, like how hard you press. And, you have to be very gentle with this stuff. And finishing it with a little bit of sugar, but not a noticeable amount of sugar, just enough to take the super acidic edge off of it. There's a real steep learning curve to that. But I think we're in a happy place with ours. The thing about bubbly to me as an industry, Ontarians still spend $80 to $90 at the LCBO for mediocre champagne. Like great champagne is great champagne, right? But mediocre champagne is a marketer's dream because it's mediocre and they still sell it for $80 a bottle and people still buy it for $80 a bottle. Meanwhile, you go around Niagara and you can get wines of equal quality for half the price. So I think it's going to be one of the strengths of the industry going forward.
Yes, I believe that is absolutely true.
So, sorry, that was my big marketing push. I promise I'll stay off that horse for the rest of the...
You're not normally a very good marketer.
No, it's just like I always feel like making sure that I tell people when I think they're being goofy, idiotic to buy champagne. Right? It just drives me crazy. And don't get me started about Prosecco. Don't get me started. It's another one.
I've been warned. Well, this is just so refreshing because I can taste the Pinot as well.
The Chardonnay brings some brightness to it, and the Pinot Noir brings a little bit more body to it. So when you combine the two, it makes a really excellent blend.
How much does that sell for?
Never ask winemakers. $35?
I want to say it's $40 to $45 plus tax.
So, yeah.
I think it's $35 plus tax. We will ascertain that at a later point before the end of the podcast.
This will be great.
That's another thing that you like to talk about, how people have to take sparkling wine off the New Year's shelf and have it watching television.
Yeah, I think it had such a reputation of being associated with special occasions for so long that there's still people that only buy it for special occasions where you can have that and a bowl of popcorn on the couch.
For sure.
Totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's a great way to start a dinner party if you're having people over, is to pop a bottle of bubbly and have a nice appetizer and just chill, Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Opening the bubbly is the big deal.
The other funny thing about doing bubbly, though, is that everybody around the world, vintage, every winemaker around the world, vintage is a thing. But in Niagara, we're absolutely screwed with our business plans, right? Because we start with the champagne folks in, early September for us. And we finish with the Bordeaux folks, Cabernet Sauvignon, in mid-November. So, the Burgundians are like, oh, it's been a 4-week vintage. Oh, no.
That is when we notice how big our portfolio is, because by the time, like when you start early and start with the sparkling and then it's just dominoes after that, by the time you do get to the Cab Sauv, you're sort of like, oh my God, when is this over? And like, not, it's not like we're complaining or anything, but it's difficult because you're living at the winery basically 7 days a week almost. And it just takes up your entire life. So by the third month, you're kind of like, okay, where's the end point here? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? You feel it by the Cab Sauv.
Yeah. It's funny though, because you're so tired, you're numb. So it's easy to get inspired. If something comes in, it's gorgeous. You're like, oh, wow, this is so good. I get energized. And then the flip side of it is like, it's snowing. It's snowing and we have to press.
Yeah.
Bad.
Well, hey, you know what? This is great. Good job on this one. Great job.
You.
Not good job. Great job.
Well, thanks. Let's pour 2 Sauvignon Blancs side by each.
Ooh.
Compare and contrast.
That wasn't part of my glass plan, but I can make that happen.
Everybody's got enough glasses.
Okay.
We have more glasses too. I'm just saying.
So we're going to have
No, it's fine.
2 Sauvignon Blancs. That's awesome. I love these side-by-side tastings. I love the name, the Iconoclast, for that.
That was so the origin of the Iconoclast. It was 2 wines, a Syrah and a Sauvignon Blanc, and they were bottled for a man named Will Predum, who was head sommelier at Canoe in Toronto, and he wanted a private label for Canoe. So that's where the Iconoclast thing came from. Our marketer at the time, they were looking for a way to declare our black sheep identity, right? We were the Iconoclasts by bottling Sauvignon Blanc and Syrah.
It's something about it that says statement.
Yes.
It's bold. And the color of these 2 is really interesting because they're so different from each other.
Yeah, you can notice it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They're both made in very different ways. So the first one is our backyard block Sauvignon Blanc, which is like those vines right back there that you can see. And that's picked before or in the earlier stages of ripening. The cool thing with Sauvignon Blanc is that more so than any other grape is that you can pick it at different times to create different styles with this wine. There's not like one sort of window to pick it and that's it. So with the first one, we're going for something very fresh and vibrant, and we're looking for those grapefruit aromas while keeping a little bit of that vegetal kind of character, like that I love about Sauvignon Blanc, which is like sometimes jalapeno in this vineyard, asparagus, pea pod, but it's bright, it's zesty, it's zingy, and fresh.
The flavors that Yvonne was talking about, like it evolves from this horribly green acidic thing through what were you saying? You were saying grassy and asparagus and pea pod and things like that. And then it starts to go limey and peachy. And then eventually it'll go mango passion fruit, right?
Yeah.
But this is the thing about Sauvignon Blanc is if you leave it for too long, it tastes like nothing. It just like the flavors go through this spectrum and then they're gone, which is why the Californians always bottle Fumé Blanc because by the time they pick it, it has no flavor, so they have to oak it. Yes, Robert Mondavi, I'm talking to you.
Oh, God. You're throwing it down.
Actually, I've had a beautiful Sauvignon Blanc from Mondavi, the Tokalam vineyard. I'm unfairly singling them out. I've never liked Fumé as a style, and I always thought it was just because they over-ripened Sauvignon Blanc. At the other end, you've got the New Zealand style, which is just sort of like a full-on in-your-face, huge fruit, smack to the senses.
Yeah.
Our style is probably a little bit closer to Sancerre than New Zealand, but with a lot of the flavor elements.
I'm getting like peach with a little apricot. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real wrong answer in tasting. And everybody's taste is so personal too, right?
Yeah. When we talk about grapefruit too, we're really talking about the grapefruit pith That's PITH, in case somebody thinks.
Thank you. I was like, wait a minute.
In case my microphone's not working very well. The inner white skin of the grapefruit, and it's got that little bitter edge to it that we love too.
Yeah.
Part of what makes it refreshing. So then glass number 3 has some Sauvignon Blanc from our vineyard, picked later, along with Semillon from a grower that we have on the other side of the property, Fruit Haven Farms, on the other side of the canal, I'm sorry. And Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, barrel fermented wines separately. That is what the Bordeaux folks call Bordeaux Blanc, right?
Okay.
And it's not a really known wine style in Ontario or in Canada, or even not really in the New World. But it was always a bit of a holy grail to me because Semillon, it's not really an aromatic grape. It's a textural grape. It's a big, fat, round thing. And then you've got the Sauvignon Blanc in glass number 2 that's this twitchy, nervous, vibrant, flavorful thing dancing around your palate. That you put the two together and there's a real yin and yang. So you get the textural component from the Semillon and all the flavor from the Sauvignon Blanc. So it comes across as like it feels like Chardonnay in your mouth, but with a really alt flavor profile.
Yeah, this one we're picking the Sauvignon Blanc to aim a little bit for a riper style, getting into those tropical fruit flavors, and more passion fruit and pineapple comes across. And then the barrel ferment, I think, also really makes it distinctly different from the backyard block and gives it so much texture, just that on its own as well.
Part of it is just that the barrels, for the tank ferment, the backyard block, we're running that really slow and cool, right? So it's way down at around 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. And the ferment takes weeks. Barrels, we don't really have the ability to hold them back that much, but we don't really want to either. So they're going to run around 18 or 19 degrees typically for a ferment. And that, in addition to adding the textural component, it's not just about the wood. It's mostly older wood, mostly larger wood. You get the textural component, but the fruit profile changes a little bit because the ferment's running warmer. So it's going to probably exaggerate the tropical, the mango and the passion fruit and the pineapple, as opposed to some of the greener stone fruit flavors that we were talking about before.
Yeah, this definitely got more of a tropical vibe to it. It's really cool.
So we've actually had years where we've picked our vineyard to try and make the backyard block. We've done 3 picks. And one of them was really green. One of them was kind of like that. And one of them was it was like mango juice, right? It was incredible.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think this is like the ultimate food wine too, because it's got like enough richness to stand up to some decent dishes, but it's also incredibly interesting and complex.
So this, you asked me at the start for a fave. This is one of my faves, and part of it has to do with, in another life, before I became a winemaker, I was working as a restaurant in Toronto called Le Select Bistro.
Oh, I know. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, well, this was the location before that.
Oh, okay.
It was still same ownership, still serious wine list. And that's where I first went down the rabbit hole of wine, I guess. And I remember tasting 1991 Bordeaux white wine by the winery was called Clos Floridane. The winemaker is the late Denis Dubourdieu. And I just remember it blowing my head off in that it had all this flavor and all this texture. And I'm like, how do you do that? I want to know how to do that. So it was kind of a eureka moment for me that I wanted to figure out how to do this. So,
how did you figure out how to do it? Did you go to school for it?
My wife and I, at this point, I'm already 35. So we were looking at going to UCal Davis or Roseworthy in Australia or Montpellier in France or Stellenbosch has a great one in South Africa. But that was going to be like a 5-year uproot and a serious financial all-in with money that we didn't have. But it was right then that Brock opened Cool Climate. So I went through we moved down here, and I went through Brock's program with the first graduating class that started at Creekside right afterwards.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just kind of swam upstream in the supply chain for wine. Yvonne's story is just as cool.
I grew up as a server and hostess and bartender. My dad was a chef. My mom was a really good cook too. So I grew up around a lot of food culture, but actually not a lot of wine culture. And when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to go to school for or what career I wanted, I was thinking very practically about things. And so I first went to school for biotechnology because I loved sciences and didn't feel quite at home with that. Like I felt like I would be working in the lab consistently, which is obviously true, but just, repeating the same tests and tasks over and over again, which kind of bored me. So I went into business, into human resources, which is also really not me. I mean, I appreciate HR, obviously.
You have no idea.
But I'm also, a little bit of a wild girl. So after a couple of years of that, I thought, this still isn't it. And I found out about the winemaking program at Niagara College and said, okay, this has to be it. And so I applied, and I was late applying the first time. They didn't accept me because they looked at my past and said, this is just going to be another course that you're going to drop out of, and you don't understand what you're getting into. And so I just showed them, and I moved to Niagara, and I started working in the industry in retail. And I literally spent an entire year studying Ontario wine and studying the Ontario wine guidebook, like it was the Bible. And applied again the following year, sort of hey, I'm now working in the industry. And then they let me in. And it finally worked out. And I felt like my brain is very much half artistic, half scientific. So the winemaking thing just really fits with me and my personality. And I think everything I did before is still super useful in what I'm doing. But it on its own, it just wasn't me. And I wasn't thinking about myself. I was just being too practical in those choices.
It's like you came to it both in different reasons.
Yeah, we're kind of the opposite of people that are born into wine families. I love it. You go over to France, and I'm traveling with a French friend, and he introduces me as a winemaker from Canada, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah," because everybody's uncle, brother, cousin, and grandfather were all winemakers. It's just really no big deal.
But we both had a serving background too.
Yeah,
and I think we really appreciate people that have worked. When we get resumes for people to work with us for Harvest, we're like, ooh, they worked at a restaurant. They're in because we know they've been in the trenches and they can do the hard work.
So I was just going to talk about the Semillon for a second. We had trouble finding a good place to grow it in Niagara, and we didn't have any open spots on our own property, and then this grower that we worked with for a long time, John Fedorko at Fruit Haven, he phoned me and says, yeah, I got 1.5 acres. What do you want to plant? And I said, how about Semillon? Pause. Semillon. Never heard of it. I'll call you back. 5 minutes later, calls me back. The boys say I'm going to have trouble with it. Are you going to work with me? Yeah, we'll work with you. Okay. So that's 2011. 2014 was first crop. 2015, we made our first real vintage of Sauvignon Semillon. It went and won a Governor General's Award for white wine. And I mentioned that not because I think it wasn't just so much that we were making it. It had to do with the fact that it's just the first time people taste it at a tasting. You're just sort of like, what is that? And it gets attention towards the style. So
that's really awesome. And congrats on getting the award too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll pass it on to John. He'll say, I never had a doubt about it. Hi, John. Hope you're listening.
I knew this would work. Yeah. All right. So what's next?
We thought, since it's getting into summer season, that you should really try our rosé. To me, is so versatile and so food friendly, and can pair with just about anything. So it doesn't have to be summer, but it's also like the perfect summer drink as well. Sitting outside in the sun and with some fresh foods.
And the color's so pretty as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you said that about drinking rosé all year. When we first got into the industry, when I first got in the industry, 2000, 2001, everybody was doing a very small amount of rosé. And the idea was that, you'd pop it on the shelf in May and it would be sold out by Labor Day, right? And because rosé was not an all, it was kind of like you don't wear white after Labor Day, or whatever that stupid rule is. But the other thing is that the winemaking was just brutal at the time because everybody was doing Saignée. So you'd take a mediocre tank of Cab Franc or Cab Sauv and you'd bleed off some juice to try and get better red wine. And then you'd take this deep, dark thing and turn it into a deep, dark rosé. And they never really sold very well because people were suspicious because the only rosé they knew was blush. So like, well, it's not going to be dry. I'm like, oh, it's dry. But it was really only about 2007 or 2008. And I would credit the good folks at Malabar, Martin Malabar and my friend Shiraz, who, Martin's a real Provençal freak. And he redid Niagara Rosé and the way we look at rosé. And the rest of us kind of followed suit. So, yeah.
And they have so many varieties of rosé there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say they're the leaders in Niagara.
What's the blend on this?
So this is, now I'm going to...
I think I got this one.
Okay, you do the varieties then.
Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Gamay.
Yeah.
A little bit of Syrah.
Yeah.
A Saignée Franc.
Yeah.
A Saignée Gamay. And a
It was
Saignée...
only Saignée Gamay.
And a Saignée Merlot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a blend.
Well, we wanted, we're actually trying to take our rosé a little bit past the Provence style, I think.
Yeah, we're darkening down again and going fuller body.
We want a little bit more body.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some of this that went, the Pinot Noir went straight to the press with minimal time on skins, maybe a couple hours. Whereas there were smaller portions that we did do Saignée off of some red tanks to get a bolder sort of style and then fermented in older French oak. But it was the combination, I think, of bringing all of that together that it's got just a little bit more color than what you would expect from a Provence rosé, but it also brings with it a little bit more body. And when you're using a number of different varieties and techniques within the process, I feel like we're creating more complexity and more interest. There's a lot there.
I think I used to worry so much about the fruit aromatics on Niagara Rosé. We've actually made really good rosés from Syrah, which is kind of counterintuitive. Syrah isn't really, when it's super ripe, it can have black fruit, but when it's underripe, it's more about smoked meat and black pepper, and that doesn't scream rosé to you at all, right? Yeah. But when you make Syrah, treat it right and make rosé out of it, it goes strawberry and watermelon, which is this magical, mystical thing. But what I was saying is I never really worry about the aromatics in rosé. It's one of the wines that we really obsess about texture and mouthfeel. Because, I hate razor sharp rosés, even the feather light Provençal ones, they'll have a delicate roundness to them. Mm-hmm. And this one is a little bit more weighty roundness, but it still has a roundness. It doesn't feel like a glass of cherry juice. It doesn't.
No, yeah. The color is much deeper than what you would expect. It's fun to drink.
Yeah.
We've made, there's a Syrah in the store on the shelf. Another example of a SKU that, here's another rosé, and away we go. And there's another thing on the shelf. But we did a barrel fermented Syrah Viogner rosé just because it was kind of one of those harvest serendipitous accidents where this guy had picked his Syrah. We had taken the Viogner about a week before, or so we thought. And so that the truck pulls in, he's like, yeah, and I got that last row of Viogner on that we couldn't get on the other truck. I got that on this truck. I'm like, okay. 1 bin of Viogner and 7 bins of Syrah. What are we going to do? But we were going to Syrah or rosé the Syrah anyway, so we put the Viogner in with it. And then we had barrels, so we decided to barrel ferment it. And the rest, as they say,
is history.
It's history. Yeah.
I think I tried that one when I was here.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I love the
it was
texture
really
on it.
good. Yeah. And I think that's what's fun about rosé. It's unpredictable.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is still a part of the market that expects that whispering angel pale thing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, this is still dry. Like,
Yes.
There's not really any residual sugar, but I think there's so much fruit coming out of it that it, I think it could please both of those people.
I think so too. It's a really nice rosé.
So we've always been known for more of the bolder red wines. So Syrah,
bigger, fuller
obviously,
body. Yeah.
but also the Bordeaux varieties. There's Laura's Red that we're known for, which is a red blend. And we have some reserves as well, all very bold wines. And we really wanted something a little bit lighter to add to our portfolio. So we were able to get some fruit from the Laundry vineyard. Heather Laundry is the grower. And she's growing organically, and the fruit just looked gorgeous. And so 2024 was the first year that we were able to take it and work with it. And so it was kind of new to us. We hadn't really done much Gamay in our history. And so this was sort of like a new project for us, new frontier. And we fermented it and got it pressed sort of before the tannins took over too much. And then this aged in neutral French oak barrels for about 9 or 10 months before we took it out for bottling. And yeah, I feel like it just made this perfect, pleasant, light red wine that still has a lot of complexity, but like is also simply good, Like
it really
just
is.
Chilled a little bit, especially in the summertime.
It's Heather's Vineyard. It's way up on Viogner Ridge. If you go up Mountain View, and the last winery you pass is Fielding, and then you're up over the breast of the hump of the escarpment, and then if you head a little bit southeast from there on Conkle, you'll hit somewhere around there. You'll hit Heather's Vineyard. So she's way
Really high
up
up,
there.
yeah.
And so it's a cool spot. Cold in the winter, but it's also a really undulating vineyard. Like it's got some cool terrain. And remember the first time, I have a pretty good sense of direction. By the time we got to the Gamay block, I was like,
Where am I?
where's north? Where's south? But I'd heard really good things about the fruit from that block. And Heather was an old friend. She went through Covey at one point. And so we were really interested to try it. And it was one of those wines where we didn't really have any antecedents. Like we were trying to feel our way through how to extract it. The only instinct we had was to make sure that we didn't over-extract it. But the goofy thing with any lighter red wine is you're really not sure what's going to happen with the color. And if it looks too much like rosé, then people are going to treat it like a rosé and it won't get treated like a serious red wine. So that we were kind of, feeling our way blind through that and just kind of trusted the fruit to do the right thing, and it did.
I like Gamay because it's got some really nice, bright red fruit, but there's like a botanical backdrop to it. Like it makes me think of eucalyptus not all generations will remember this, but the store White Rose, the craft store,
I remember it.
Around.
It still gives me PTSD.
Okay,
I hate
this
that
smells
kind of
like
store.
White
I hate
Rose.
it.
It smells a little bit like that potpourri.
You're freaking
You're
me
gonna
out.
be fine. You're gonna be fine.
It's a gutsy Gamay, right? Like if you overcrop Gamay, it just makes a Mick Red, right? A really light Mick Red wine.
Yeah.
But if it's from better spots, it has a little bit of guts, a little bit of edge to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was. So here we go, yet another SKU. All of a sudden, we come out with a Gamay, and the stores have what? Another red? And like, it's different. Trust me, because alongside some of our gutsier Bordeaux reds and the Syrah bottlings that we do, we need this kind of a lighter red for the summer.
I think so too, and it's a really beautiful Gamay. Well done, you guys.
Thanks.
Like I really,
the market's going that way though too, eh? Like even people that used to look for chocolate thunder booze in their reds are like, do you have a Pinot? Do you have a Gamay? People are starting to respect the lighter, elegant side of things.
Well,
and realizing that it's not all about power, right? It can be
exactly,
about finesse.
yeah. That you can have a red that's not going to punch you in the face every time you drink it. Not punch you in the face.
I think that was kind of the start of Creekside. Was we were known for making big, bold, ageable reds, and that was a statement at the time too. That was part of the iconoclast thing. There were other people doing it. Eddie Gorinskas over at Lakeview always had big red wines and things like that. But a lot of people weren't trying to make ageable reds in Niagara. And now the pendulum's going the other way, and we're all trying to make beautiful Gamay, along with the ageable reds.
I guess we're going to end with a big punch you in the face red, though.
Yeah, we figured we should pour you the Syrah that we're most known for.
Yeah, this is our flagship red. It's 2020 Broken Press.
Look at how beautiful the color is on that.
That's the first thing you need to know about Syrah. You just do not worry about color. It's everything I was saying about Gamay or Pinot and you know, sweating it out to make sure you get some Syrah, you know, you crush it and then you come back. It hasn't even started fermenting yet. It's still in cold soaking. You're like, okay, we're good.
It's like magenta
It's black.
on the crush pad.
Yeah,
like when
black.
it's coming through the crusher destemmer, it's just this absolutely magical color of like fuchsia and magenta, and like it immediately has color.
Yeah.
The politically correct term that we use for Pinot Noir is that it's pigmentally challenged, right? And if what the wine gods took from Pinot, they gave us to Syrah.
Oh, okay. The Syrah got all the color.
But Syrah can be like a little bit more medium colored in some vintages too.
I never thought of the color off the press. I would assumed all, like you would have known the color for all different types of grapes and wines like that. I didn't know. But so like it's interesting that this one in particular, it's already like.
Sometimes Merlot will take forever to come out, right? Like
Really?
It'll look like this kind of sicky, milky.
Really?
Pink.
What?
And even you get it through,
Yeah,
get it
Merlot
into
No
ferment,
way.
get it into ferment, and then it'll be like, oh, thank God, here it comes.
No way.
But yeah.
That's wild. See, I know with flavor and things like that, but I never thought about because you guys are projecting where the flavor is going to be, right?
Yeah.
And so I never thought about that though with the color too. I thought the color was kind of like, oh yeah, that's what we want, and now we just work on the flavor, right? But no. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, it all because if you were to press a red grape immediately, you could technically get white juice.
That's right.
Right?
It needs
So
it's right.
the color, the final color of the wine is so dependent on its time on skins and sort of that process, but a lot of it actually just has to do with the variety initially anyways.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
So there's a few spots, you know, when I started in Niagara, we talked about this earlier when, you know, people didn't know what to grow where and how to grow it. We had Syrah on this property. It sucked. It was pulled out in 2009. But this property is up on the St. David's Bench. It's about as far away from the lake as you get in Niagara. It'd be about as far away. It's probably further away than Heather's place up in Viogner. It's about 11 kilometers off the lake shore. And that has two things. First of all, in winter, it has no protection from the lake. So it's about as cold as Niagara gets, which can be bad because, as I said, Syrah is cold tender. But it's also, you know, when we had a lot of growers, including our own property in St. David's Bench, we'd have a lot of growers, and I'd be out scouting fruit, including Syrah. So I'd go down, we have this grower down in 4 Mile Creek, right around Con 7 and Line 2. And I'd go to visit his Syrah, and I'd have my coat on because it's cold. It's October morning, late October. And then I'd go up to the St. David's Bench and to look at our Syrah, and I'd have my coat off because it's warmer. And I'd go and visit somebody else down near the lake. And those 2 or 3 degrees makes a huge difference at the end of the season just to get things just a tick riper. And it's not that we're trying to make Shiraz here. Like the beautiful thing about Syrah is when we have a leaner year, like some of the quote unquote poor red wine vintages in Niagara are some of our favorite vintages for this Syrah, like 08, 11.
Yes, 11 was my
17.
absolute favorite.
Like these are not vintages
either.
These are not vintages where marketers are saying, "Ooh, vintage of the century, vintage of the century," and we're no. Look at that. This 2020 was actually, one of the vintages of the century in terms of ripeness. The story I tell about making this one though is I was so nervous. Like it's like the fruit came in and it was just so perfect. The initial thought balloon is, "Oh God, please don't let me this up," right?
Just added a beep in there.
but then all the way through the winemaking, I was aware that we could make something really special and something probably a quantum leap riper than we'd ever made before. Not necessarily better, but riper. And it was how to deal with that extra ripeness. And do we extract it more? Do we extract it less? Do we treat it the same? Or just follow our instincts like we always do? And that's where we ended up. Just kind of going day to day with it and figuring out where we thought it was balanced.
There's still...
Well done, you guys.
Like the way
this
it's
is
drinking
amazing.
right now, like there's some freshness that comes through on the finish. Like it's a big, bold red, but it's balanced now that it's had some time to
We
age
should talk
a bit.
about the Viogner.
Yeah. Well, tell the story.
Is there some Viogner in that?
Yeah, so...
Because there is a lot of times.
At this vineyard, we also had a small parcel of Viogner. And the first time the Viogner crop came in, we were pressing it in one of those little stupid little basket presses that's got a bladder in the middle that you blow up. It looks like a big inner tube, cheap press. But it was the only thing that was small enough to take this little batch. And of course, the inner tube bladder breaks halfway through. So I'm, swearing a blue streak at the moon. My winemaking partner is saying, it's okay, because he was remembering, as I did eventually, that the whole point of us having Viogner is that we wanted to use the Viogner skins in the Syrah ferments, which is not an innovative technique. They've been doing it in Côte Rôtie in the Northern Rhone for hundreds of years, right? So that was the first year we did it, 02, I think. The first year we bottled Broken Press. My partner came up with the name, because it was Broken Press Syrah. So that's where it came from. That we literally did break a press the first time. And what we saw right from the start is if you do comparison batches side by side, same Syrah with and without the Viogner has this, first of all, an uplifted aromatic of apricots, just what you'd expect.
Violets.
But the other thing is that it has this softening effect on the tannins of the wine when it's younger. So we have another bottling that we call Unbroken Press from 2020, that if you tried them side by side, you'd see the effect of the Viogner even after 5 years, because as the time goes on, the Viogner effect subsides and the wines kind of converge. But it has this softening effect, this floral effect, this overall, it's not that it sweetens it just softens and rounds it when it's younger.
It makes
so
it
it doesn't
prettier.
feel prettier. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more elegant as opposed to muscular.
It's elegant but powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've always loved the effect that the Viogner brings to it.
That's really cool. You guys have done an amazing job. I'm really, really so pleased with everything we've tasted today.
Well, thank you.
That's why
we chose the only good 6 ones, right? The rest of them are bad. Just so we're clear on
But
that.
it was such a pleasure to chat with both of you, and I love that we got a chance to hang out here finally. So I just want to say thank you to both of you guys for both Rob and Yvonne for being here today and talking about your process in winemaking. It's such a beautiful day, listener. We're sitting here on the patio. You can hear the bullfrogs occasionally. That's not us belching. that was the bullfrog.
Definitely the frogs.
Yeah, definitely. You can come here and have a beautiful wine tasting on the patio and have some food as well and see the hundreds of wines that are inside that these two work so hard on to make. You can go to the website. You can go to social media. We will have on the show notes, we'll have photos and you can just see all about and pictures of all the wines that we've tasted. Don't forget to visit our website, which is spillthewine.ca. You can send us a message there at contact@spillthewine, and we will gladly listen to what you're saying. If you've got a winery that you want us to visit that you think that we should know about, tell me about it. We'll come. And we will do podcast episode there. Don't forget to like and follow Spill the Wine on Facebook, which is Spill the Wine Podcast. On Instagram, it's Spill the Wine _podcast. And hey, if you're listening to the podcast and you actually come to these wineries, then make sure you tell them about it when you're here, that you actually heard about it from Spill the Wine, because we love knowing that what we're doing is making a difference. And if you have any questions, if you're planning a trip out here to the bench or to the Niagara region and you want a tour guide, you can always get a Spill the Wine tour from me, which is also super lots of fun. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Yvonne and to Rob for being here today. We'll say
Our pleasure.
cheers.
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 And we'll see you guys again next time.